Raptor stuff. Today, Saturday project's always fun. Another Raptor, different Raptor than what I'm usually working on. But this is the previous Raptor that I had done the front bumper on. So I get to finally figure out how the adaptive cruise works. It mounts right there. And it's got the same bumper with the same lights. And I figured it out. The one look. And it all came back to me. So I can finally make a video on finishing the grill on the other Raptor and get the adaptive cruise mounted. This Raptor is not in for that. It is in for a jack mount and shock reservoir mounts. We have to relocate the reservoirs to mount the jack where he wants it mounted. I'm going to start with this side first because this is where all the meat and potatoes are, and the jack has to be mounted. This side can stay as it is. It does not need to be moved. But if I'm making one reservoir mount, as long as it works, it shouldn't take me that long to make the same thing. So I'm gonna get started by ripping all the tires and everything out of this, get the jack out, pull the reservoir mounts out, and start building the new reservoir mounts. Because once I build that, everything for the jack will be based off that. So. All right, we got the bed pulled apart here. I'll show you exactly why we have to relocate the reservoirs. So this hose is only about a foot long, and it's pretty decent sized hose.
That's what she said.
These reservoirs are so beefy that usually them out there, if that's where this is relaxed, not much flex to them, so we're gonna try to just put them straight up. And that'll work out perfect because that bed bolt right there is about lined up with the end of it. So if I make a new mount that comes from that spot on the bed, goes up, and there's a bar that goes back here to about the end of this reservoir, and then another bar that goes down to a tab on the floor, it'll be a big triangulated bit, and then the jack will mount down into the floor. That is my idea anyway. It'll probably get tweaked as I build it, but we're gonna give it a shot and see how it turns out. All right, so we're gonna cut these apart and use the plates. I think I might have to make one more. I bent up some 90-degree squares because I think the square will look better bent. Well, it works because I tried to bend the tubing I had. It was too thin, it flattened out, I didn't like it. I do have a square die that looks pretty good. I'm only going to use a little section of it, so I think it'll work just fine. That's my thought anyway. The driver's side, I'll literally just use this and make another U up, and then the reservoir will mount to it. So I can reuse the tubing on these mounts for that, but the driver's side, I think I'm going to have to make an all new one. I'll start cutting these apart and see how it goes. Got these mounts kind of roughly made, they're just tacked up. This is where we start to figure stuff out. I have an idea in my head, but until I get everything on here, I won't know exactly how it's going to work. So we'll start modifying this little by little and tweak it as we need. I've got the first mount mocked up. I'm going to shorten these mounts up, probably come down probably 2 inches, because right now that reservoir goes up to the bottom. I kind of want the reservoir to go up next to it or even on top of it, just to bring it down as possible, because I am going to try to bend this up to it. So if I could bring this down to mid height, that'd be perfect, I think. So I'm going to start with 2 inches and see how that goes. But it looks a lot better than I thought. I was questionable on the square tubing with the round tubing, but it doesn't look bad. And then I actually think it would look good if I made the same thing on the other side. So, but that's the start of the shape right there. I will probably flip this mount with that mount because I'm not the smartest person when it comes to bending stuff. Plus that bend up front actually looks a little bit better. So. But I am happy with how it's coming out. It actually looks pretty good. It'll look pretty sweet when it's all said and done. So we'll mock up the jack. We'll start getting the idea for the jack mount together and we'll go from there.
5 minutes later.
So we changed the idea on the shock mounts a bit. This is the driver's side, the side that doesn't get the jack. Instead of going to both mounts, it was easier to go to the back wall. The shock mount still bolts to that mounting point on the bed, but I butted it up against the bulkhead and put a nutsert in the front to anchor it up front, and then I just cut it to the length of where the reservoir is going to mount. That's as far back as that'll go, and that's as far forward as the reservoir will go. This is the angle that the jack's going to sit at. So I'm going to come off the bed bolt here, make some sort of 90-degree bracket up and over and probably to the wheel well. And then a plate will go down the bottom side of this jack and then bolt to the floor on the back side. So now we just got to move on to the jack.
Not like it matters. I mean,
here's an idea. I weld a plate to the bottom of this part, this tube, to where I can put 2 bolts right here. And then I just go notch another piece of tubing, go straight down, make a plate that goes underneath that bed bolt plate, and that's it. And then I'll weld a tab on the back side that'll tag into these 2. Yeah, pretty straightforward.
seems like more work.
Nah.
Well, mainly having to build something that goes to that.
That's just a piece of plate. It wouldn't even have to be that crazy. It could literally just be the same tabs they use for the reservoir mount down at the bottom.
If I weigh 99 pounds and eat a pound of nachos, am I 1% nacho?
Right there-ish. Tab straight over, hold down. Not too bad. This being here. 9 inches tall to notch it. Sounds good. the jack mount just about done. There's a plate that goes all the way up the mount to a crossbar that bolts to the wheel well, down to, wow, that is tight. From the wheel well across and down to bed bolt, and it sits perfectly between the tire and the bedside. I like how it turned out. Obviously, it might be kind of a pain to get this out, but the tires can be removed if the jack's got to come out. With the space constraints that I have, there's not much I can do. So all I got left is punch these, weld the little relief cut I put in there, and weld that plate down to the front cross member, and this jack mount will be done. All right, got the Raptor done. Woo! Jack is mounted, tucked in here, awesome. It is, well, the jack is obviously in the mount, so it's not like super snug, but it is on there. Bolts to the floor back here, bolts to the floor up there, and goes down to the bed bolt. Has just enough room next to the tires and just enough room underneath the reservoir. You will have to loosen the strap, move the tire over to get it out, but it is what it is. So, bolts up to the bulkhead, goes to one of the factory mounts, and it's got this big old honking reservoir hanging out. Pretty much it. Right, Ryan?
Right.
Right. Ryan approves. Raptor stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we know our Raptor. It's good to go. It's good to go. And got everything done. That's it for this truck. Hopefully now after seeing this truck, I can make a video on finishing up the grill on the other Raptor, getting the adaptive cruise mounted. And yeah, that'll answer a lot of questions that I've been getting. So we'll see you later.